I want to do a quick reminder of our introduction to opposites and absolute value. So basically, we need to have a definition of what absolute value is. Absolute value is the distance that a number is from zero. Because we're talking about distance, we know that absolute value must always be positive. Because distance can never be negative, and because distance can be never be negative, absolute value can never be negative. The symbol for absolute value is 2 lines. And then there is a number or some values between those 2 lines. Let's say the number n. So when you see a symbol like this, it means the absolute value of the number n. Or what is the distance of n, this number, from 0? Let's take a look at these 2 examples. What does this example mean? It's asking, what is the absolute value of -6? Another way to answer that question is, how far is -6 from 0 on the number line? Well, we know that -6, the number right here, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces from 0. Therefore, the absolute value of -6 is 6. Nice job. So what about this problem? This problem is basically asking, how far is 6 from 0 on the number line? Well, 6 is right here. How far is it from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of 6 is also 6. Nice job. So the absolute value of -6 and 6 are the same, which means -6 and 6, these 2 numbers, -6 and 6, are the same distance from 0. And so we call -6 and 6 opposites, because 2 opposite numbers are basically 2 numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line. One in the positive direction and one in the negative direction. Let's try these. Let's think about these problems. What is the absolute value of 12? Well, how far is it from 0? It is 12 spaces from 0. What is the absolute value of -65? Well, how far is it from 0? It is 65 spaces from 0. So the absolute value of -65 is 65. So we can ask the question of absolute value with words, or we can just use the absolute value symbols. These problems are asking the same thing. What is the absolute value of -8? What is the absolute value of 32? What is the absolute value of -65? What is the absolute value of 234? -8 is 8 spaces from 0. 32 is 32 spaces from 0. -65 is 65 spaces from 0. And 234 is 234 spaces from 0. All of my answers are always going to be positive. Now, what about opposite numbers? What are opposites? Opposite numbers are the same distance from 0. For instance, the opposite of -2 is +2, because -2 is 2 spaces from 0, and 2 is 2 spaces from 0. Opposites have the same absolute value. Another definition of opposites is that they have a sum of 0. In other words, -2 plus 2 equals 0. You'll learn more about that when you learn about integer operations. So if you look on our number line, you'll see 2 and -2 are both the same distance from 0. What other numbers are the same distance from 0? What about 5 and -5? What about 9 and -9? What about 6½ and -6½? These are all numbers that are equidistant or equally distant from 0, and that makes them opposites. Nice job. Try these. What is the opposite of -5? Well, what number is equally distant from 0? +5. What is the opposite of 18? Well, what number is the same distance from 0? -18. Now, here's some tricky problems down here. Look at this one. Sometimes there's more than one negative sign. The first one reads, what is the opposite of -4? Well, the opposite of -4 is 4. The second one reads, what's the opposite of 18? Well, the opposite of 18 is -18. What does that next one read? Let's take a look at that one. What is the opposite of the opposite of the opposite of -8? Oh, my head hurts. Well, the opposite of -8 is 8. The opposite of that is -8, and the opposite of that is +8. Yikes! So the answer to that problem is 8. The easy way to do a problem like this is count the negative signs. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 opposite or negative signs here, which is an even number, which means my answer is going to be positive. So if I ask myself what's the opposite of the opposite of the opposite of 45, I just tell myself there is 1, 2, 3 negative signs or opposite signs, which is an odd number. So that means my answer is going to be negative. Crazy math. Nice job.